Hi, my name is Matt and this is 11th part of the series. After finishing this video I will tell something about exporting the project, and for now our topic for today is saving the data. This topic it may be confusing, and that's why I think we should go through this step by step. We will use some generic types, we will use binary formatters. That's why I want to upload all the project, because I won't be able to upload since after every video. Because I want some people who go through the series later see some kinds of milestones. That's why I will probably upload the project after this video, and then we will make another big topic, and then I will make another upload. And this topic is really maybe confusing, I mean from the programming side, because we will make a lot of programming today. So let me first show you how we persist the data, what are binary formatters, and why on earth we need to use generic types. Let's go. Mr. McGag had a very cool live session about persistent data when he used binary formatter, C# binary formatter class to save data into a file. And we will also use this because it's the best way. So if you want, go ahead, watch this. It will give you some information about how we do it. But let me show you something else. So imagine this is our game. This window is our game, and this is our input manager. This is our GUI and stuff, everything in our game. And what the player does, he puts some values here, changes something, and now let's say that he closes an application. Of course, when he enters it again, the data is lost. It's obvious, because it was nothing there, and it's always the reason why some changes done in play mode, like let's disappear this terrain and stuff like that. When we unplay, everything's come back. And what I've done, I've just hidden this GUI stuff. Anyway, let's go back to my cool presentation. So what we need to do? So this was in Mr. McGag's film. We just take our changes done by player and write it into a file, a binary file that exists in our disk in C. Like this, C. And this is the idea. And then when we open up again the game, first thing we do is to get this information from a file and make it back in a scene. That's how the data persists, and that's cool. But okay, with this live session or with my tutorial, it would be easier for you to just write binary formatter, write your custom class, which is of course serializable, and save this data into a file. But now let's think a little bit different. So this is our game, like by 100th part of the tutorial. And you see there are lots of much more things, and all those things must persist when we close the application. So what we've got our game input that we've created already. We've got our player information, health, experience, mana, stamina. We've got an NPC, and with every NPC we might got some dialogue issues and stuff like that. We also have an item, and everything we need to remember. So, well, just write everything into a file. It's nothing simpler. But, well, using binary formatter to do everything, we've got some for example, save player data, save inventory, save in PC, save input. Everything must be created, and they actually do the same. They take a function and they serialize it into a file, and of course they can deserialize it, go back and assign the data. Okay, so when we add something new, like, I don't know, the chest with some items, let's say it's a chest, and there is a sort inside, and when the player takes this sort, it also should be saved. So we'll create another function called save chest, and then we got another chest and stuff like that. Everything must be persist, and to avoid writing many functions that do the same, we will use generic types. So what's the difference between this and this picture? Yeah, anyway, let's go next. I know. So instead of those, just make every function same, save, and they will take the type, which, as you remember, it looks like the square brackets that we are putting when we use get component function. The save will take different classes and, let's say, a different name of the files, and then it's serializable. And the process of changing a class from a class to a file can be done with one function all the time, called save. It just takes a path. Okay, so this will be the subject of today's lesson. And once again, here is our player. The player is just an example. We do not have much to serialize though. So here's our player, and we wanted to save into file. And you know, file just cannot contain it's the player, it's binary file, it's this pure data. So we cannot just serialize our player like this, save it to a file, and just go back with it. It's not that simple. So let's see. So we need to remember just the data that we want to remember. Okay, so how we do it? We need to write our custom class called like player data, or just player D for short. This is our class, and it will contain the variables that we want to save. Because since our player is prefab and it's part of the scene, we do not really need to save everything. So let's say we need to have experience, mana, stuff like that. And this class will just contain pure data. It won't be mono behavior, it will be serializable. You know. Actually, let me. So now we can use our function called save to change it into a file. And our function called load, so we won't use that really. Our function called load to read it from a file and then assign it to our player. So when we press save, we turn our player into data that we want to persist, we save it. And when we press load, we load this data from a file and turn it to the data that can be accessed. It's not binary, it's a class, and then assign it to a player. How we do so? So this is our custom class, and to communicate with this class, we just of course, use Unity. Unity can communicate with this class because it's just a class, it's just an object. It's not even mono behavior, it cannot be, because we need to serialize it. But it still contains the data, and they might be public, stuff like that. But to make this communication between this custom file and custom class and a file, we just use binary formatter, which is some C# class. Okay, so fast. I think what to start actually. Let's go into classes. So we've got a button, and first I will type it's serializable because it must be. Then I will type public class called input data. It just contains a pure data. And I will type classes that we use to save data. So what should it contain? It should contain everything that we want to save from this guy, from input manager. So let's look in input manager at the input manager here and think what we need to save. First, we need to save this list. It's very important because this list defines our button mapping. We also want to define those float, x speed and y speed, and x inverted and y inverted. Okay? I think it should be all. Yes, it is. So first, here in our classes, I need to add system collections generic namespace and add a list of buttons. Not button, the button is a class, remember, called game buttons dot data. I usually try to call this same as here, but I type other underscore data just to make sure that it's, you know, and we do not really make move it like type it here like equal new list of buttons, because we do not want to use any constructor. We will assign it later and you will see why. So as I said, we also need some floats, and I will make it public, why not? So we need two public floats. Public float mouse x speed data, mouse y speed data, and two public booleans called x inverted data, y inverted data. So this class contains just pure data. It wasn't really complicated, but let me remind you one more time. We write this class because this class can be written into a file. This one cannot. It's mono behavior and it cannot be written into a file. You may do it with some more immediate scripting, but you will probably get tons of bugs and stuff like that. Just this file holds the data from here, is rewritten to the file, then we load it and put it here. So now before we do anything cooler, let me just I will create another game object. I usually do it, and I will do it this time also. Create empty. I'm not gonna make it part of game manager, and it's gonna be data manager. Because oh no, I don't need it actually. I will make this save and load scripts over here. So I will add a component, add script called data. That's data, why not? I will drag and drop it here in our game manager, and let me open it. So first I need a public function void world which saves everything. Let's make it public void, and not everything, will save input for now. And first I will do it just by typing, creating binary formatter and stuff like that. Then I will show you how it should be done. So I'm gonna quickly reload this guy to make sure the changes will work. Here in our save input function. Okay, so we need some other namespace. This one is long. System that runtime that format. Serialization that formatters that binary. And we're also using system.io. Here in our void input, save input, as I said, we will get rid of this and write it properly, but first we just need a basic idea. So first we call a binary formatter constructor. So we take binary formatter bin for equals new binary formatter. I use default constructor with nothing here. It's probably one and only which works. Then I need new instance of this input data. So let's type input data called input data equals new input data. Then I will type input data that game buttons data, and remember it's list, equals, and then we need to go into our game manager we can do it by just get component input manager that game button. I do it because they are assigned to the same game object, but actually okay, I've changed my mind. Let me do it here in the same class. So I will get rid of this. I'm sorry guys for that, it's probably all of this stuff was stupid and unnecessary. Anyway, reload home. Now you see there are no namespace here declared. Oh, you can press this guy using system formatters binary, it automatically adds it for you, and it's cool because the name is really long. Now we don't really need that, just game buttons. Input data dot x inverted data equals x inverted. Input data dot y inverted data equals y inverted. Input data dot input data dot x mouse x speed equals mouse x speed. Input data is lots of typing actually, but mouse y speed equals mouse y speed, but you won't avoid it really. But I will just call it save. Okay, I promised not to change that. So now our input data, which is this class, contains every information that we want. We just need to save it into a file. So now we need to type file stream. That's because we didn't type. Also using system.io. File stream. I just call it file. Equals application.persistent data path equals file, capital F. It's a class that create. Then we need to add a path, application.persistent data path plus /input data that's bin or that deleted, doesn't really matter. Now we need to call our binary formattal to serialize, and first we need is a file, second one is our object, which is input data, small I. And we also need file.close. Should I type those? I probably should. Okay. Now we've got our save function. What it does, it creates a binary formatter, which is class. It's part of this namespace. It's horrible to say or remember. And it creates new instance of this class that we've created here. It's an object, but not mono-behavior object. That's an object. We assign manually some variables. I will actually then we are creating a file, and it's binary file, and we ask our binary formatter to put our input data in this file, and we close the file. Does it work? Let's try. Hope there are no errors. Let's go into apply, add an on-click function, drag and drop game manager, and here we'll use input manager. That's save. Let's try the game. Let's actually, I will call here to alpha2 or to, I don't know, backslash, and I will change pause to keep at 0. And now I hit apply, and it would be cool to make our logs debug.log input was saved. it will be compiled at the runtime. So again, I also like to invert y-axis, and I click apply. Input was saved. Cool. Of course, because we do not really load it, nothing's happening. The reference script is missing. What's happening? Oh, it is because of this data that I decided not to use really. Okay, so it's fine. So as said, we've saved it to a file. So actually, why not to find it? Is it in our C drive? Yes, it is. And how do we get it? This is a string, and we can print it or debug it. So debug.log is just same as print. It just prints something in our console. So let's type void start, and I will make print this guy. So as you see, after this, I've got everything. I've got this file path, and actually I will go ahead and open it. I've opened up this file. I've already, actually it took me a while to find this location, but anyway, I've opened up this file. It's binary file, you can see it, Notepad++, it's nothing to read completely. I mean, you got some information, but it doesn't really matter. Now some random words, jump, D, right? It sees something, but it's not that easy. If I change one of here, it will basically cause some problems. Anyway, so now you know that you saw that we can actually make this data. Now let's load it. How we do it? The function load would be very same to function save, but with fundamental difference that we will deserialize, not serialize. But I will also need binary formatter. And I also need an input data called, in my case, input data. The name isn't important, name it whatever you want, equals new input data. And I also need a file called file is equal file.open, and I will just copy paste this. And I guess now we need to add a file mode, but I'm not really sure if we need to. But anyway, I will add it. Now it will work. No, it won't. What's happening? File stream. Okay. Now I will ask binary formatter to deserialize, and I will assign it to input data. So I will type input data equals binary formatter that deserialize, and I'm gonna deserialize the file. And if we just, let me actually go back, close the file, everything's same here. Input was loaded. You will get an error called cannot convert type object to input data. Are you missing a cast? Yes, I do, but why is that? What was deserialized? The script, the C#, like nothing really knows what it is. It's just an object, so everything's is a C# object because we are doing object-oriented programming. But we need to tell this guy that it's input data. So I typecast it. So just type as input data. That's why he asked us if we're missing the cast. Input data is assigned but never used. Yes. And now, since our input data contains all information that was saved in a game, we can now assign them. So let's type game buttons equals input data that game buttons data. It's actually, we are writing all of those, but in a different name, maybe in a different order. So now we are assigned. This is how I do it usually if I don't have time. I will assign all of them really quickly. Well, at least as quickly as I can. Okay, so after assigning this variable, I can close file and debug the log that file was saved. The last thing that we need to do is to call our load function in an awake. Called start. I usually call it in start, but whatever. Now we do not need to print it anymore, so I type just load. Cool. Now we've got an information called input was loaded. And that's a problem actually, because yes, input was loaded. I cannot well, get out. Input was loaded. I cannot use my alpha 1 key to enter the sort. I need to press alpha 2, but the GUI stuff is not being shown properly. That's because this function start is actually happening before this function start. Yeah, so the question should be how we fix this. So we go here into execution order. Let's add input manager. Now let's add key assignment menu. Input manager, I will make it here, make it 100. Okay, now let's start. Now it works properly. At least almost properly, because we need also key assignment axis. Please make sure you drag and drop key assignment button. Let's hit apply. So it now is inverted. It works properly. And you see everything is cool and it works. So now I can completely remap my keys and save them. Now they are still there. It may occur some problems, so let me move it back. Backslash is okay. And I will create pause here. Not system, I need to pause. Okay, I've just realized that when I click pause, my video recorder stops anything. Oh my god, what a mistake. Anyway, so I won't click pause here actually. But I want to keep this be to alpha 1. It can be kept at 0, and I will hit apply. I've got a log that input was saved. Cool. Now it works. And last thing we need to do is to add revert. And revert will just be the load function. It's for simplicity. But it will work actually, so let me just drag and drop input manager. Let me first find it. Game manager, here it is. Input manager, load. Why does it work? Because it reverts all the changes. Revert. Yes, and after that we need to refresh the GUI. So we can add another guy, which is this guy, and call it just key assignment. Do not really. Have I create a function that automatically refresh every button in GUI, or have I forgotten about it? Oh, I've created a function that have I done this? Actually, let me check. Key access menu. Refresh GUI button, but okay, so void refresh all buttons, and I will just make a for int I equals 1, I is less than input manager like game buttons plus I will refresh GUI buttons from buttons of I. That count. Now it works. So what it does, it just takes every button with which we had in this list and make sure that it's being refreshed with this function. And we need to make it public. Runtime only. Now go to key assignment menu. Refresh all buttons. Now let's see. So let me just add some stupid changes. It's being reverted. Next, and the last probably thing that should happen is we should make this guy inactive when we hit apply or revert. So let's add another thing. We'll pass many canvas over here, and we do like game object that set active, and we set false. Same here in the revert function. So we do not really need to assign. Oh my god, because we have actually you know, does not make any sense because we are refreshing that and then we close this GUI stuff. But anyway, I can make it with no sense. I can press revert. Well, let me go to the game manager. Why is invert? That's weird actually. Anyway, it works. Now I also need to make this game manager, this menu sceneable. So I will just add a script called pause menu, speed sharp, edit script, let me reload all. I need update function. We need reference, so input manage IAM in void awake. I want to do it IAM equals game object not find game manager that get component input manager. Here if input manager dot pressed down button called pause, game object small g dot set active true. When I press escape now, or yes, I guess the changes wasn't there really. Lovely mono develop Visual Studio. Maybe did I post the wrong name? Okay, I know why it's that, because when game object is inactive, the scripts looks like they aren't working, which makes sense. I will add it to the game manager. Now it's working. But now I need a reference to oh my god. Public game object pause menu. Let me drag and drop all the canvas. And now it is working. No, it doesn't. It's the pause menu. That's set active is equal to true. Now it does. When I press escape, I got all this information. I can make some changes. Hit apply, and I've got the changes. Or when I exit the game, my changes are still there because I've changed speed of Y, which is similar, and I'm gonna increase the speed of X. Now let's go to the second thing that I said, that we can make our static function save that saves everything. It's not that cool because this part must be written manually, which is a problem actually, but whatever. I'm just thinking, should I change the name to save input? I guess I should. Let's please tell me that. Okay, I just change it, probably because then we will get like global object that loads everything. Everything's cool. Funny. But we may go into some generic scripting. It isn't really necessary, it's more complicated. But we can make some static function that saves a class like this, and we do not really need to specify what class it is, so it could take every class and write it into a file that we specify. It's complicated, but at least if it isn't really needed now, think about it as like just another task for you as a programmer, like generic scripting. It's really important and really cool. Okay, so I will create a class that's called AO. I will reload all. I'm not gonna make it mono behavior, I guess. I will make it static instead, and I will quickly reload it. I said reload it. Okay, I'm sorry. So now we can make some public static void called save. And what it saves? It saves a class, and since we do not know what class it will be, we can go into some generic scripting, which is cool but complicated. So we take t as a type, then we will need t that class to serial, class to save, and then string. I will just call it file name. Then we type where, and we specify what can be t, because t can be anything, even an int. But I want it to be a class and have a default constructor. Now we need to add function body. So imagine we've come over here, we assign those values, and now we would to save this data into a file. We just pass input data. So first we need to call a binary formatter, we always do. Then we will take our class to save. Then we will specify the file. So file stream file equals file that create application that persistent data path plus slash plus file name. Okay, and now we ask our binary formatter to serialize our class to save into a file. And actually into our file, first we type file, the class to save. Then we can close the file. You do not need system.collections. Always remove unnecessary namespace. And here we do not really need it. So get rid of this, get rid of this. and I will type io dot save, and I'm gonna save input data type. Now I will pass input data, and well, how was it called? Input data that big, if I'm probably wrong. Anyway, just the name. It's just we'll have some double names like input data. Oh, I named it right. Okay. And as you see, now it works. And we will make the same for load. So make public static load function. And I also need a generic type t, because I do not know what I will load. And one and only parameter is string called file name. And I will probably need to copy paste this where t, at least I guess so, and it shouldn't be void, it should be t. And I've got one error actually. Just not all the path returns value. So now I need to type return t, or return some generic type. So I will type t new type, new data equals new t. Should it work? It works. So now I've created instance of this type and do not really know what is this type. I just know it's class. But because it's C# we can use generic programming, and we can use some function that at this moment we do not really know what we are returning. I can return new data, and I do not know what I'm returning. It depends on what I will pass here. That's amazing. Again, I will need to add binary formatter equals new binary formatter. I need a file stream. File equals file.open. Application persistent data path plus file name. Then I will return binary formatter that deserialize, and I'm deserializing the file, and I will need to type file.open here, file mode .open. I'm deserializing the file, and I can cast it as t. I do not really know what is t, but I can cast and return what what I have deserialized. And I also need file.close. Cool. Now we will get rid of this stuff. I will just make input data equals load. io.load, and I will load file name is called input data.binary because this is what we said. But first I needed, in this parentheses, I need to type I'm returning input data, I'm searching for input data, and input data, because its name string dot binary. And we can also get rid of this. I will actually do it like here. With one line of code. And I will make the back right here. Okay, and what is cool, we do not really need those here, which is very nice because you usually want to use as less namespaces in one file as you can. And now saving it to a file is done by other action, which is part of this. We can even turn it to namespace like my IO and use it here, but we will make namespaces in next videos, I hope. So I'm not gonna trouble you with this right now. And to prove you that it actually works, let me once again input loose loaded, change some stuff. Maybe not so much. Oops. Hey, I said it. Wow. Why is that? Anyway, let me just change from pause to, I don't know, backspace. And now I hit apply. I reopen the game. Yes, something's not working really. Backspace, I hit apply. Apply. Okay. We've made the script. That's weird. Oh, I've just changed the name and I've lost everything. That's not cool. I change it to backslash, I invert my y-axis, hit apply, reopen again. You see the changes were saved. So this made our data persistence really easy, because now we can make other functions that contains information about player and serialize it really easy. That's why I've showed you this stuff. It may be confusing, may be complicated, but don't worry, go through it once, twice, as many times as you need. It's never too much, and just you will understand it, I promise. Okay, one thing that I also want to do is this video is to deal with it, because now I cannot assign a shift key because it does not see shift. Which might occur some problem to someone. The same with mouse. And actually there is not good way to do it. Let's go to our key assignment menu. I thought if we can do it better, but we just need to if input that get key down, and just a get key. Left shift, key code that left shift, left shift, or input that get key down, key code that right shift. Let me actually think, it shouldn't be down, because here on GUI some strange stuff is happening sometimes. So let me just leave it like this, or I will just copy paste this a few times. Mouse 0, or mouse 1, or mouse 2, and then I will change else. I'll make the same, oops, pass some function, but can I do it? Oh, that's nice. That's very nice. Because now, or actually, I will do it like this. If so, a that key code equals key code that left shift. Let me just check if it's working, because I didn't really realize it is. It doesn't. He has detected some unreadable code, didn't he? No. Let me show if it's working really. It should go. Well, key code is assigned manually. And when I press or a that key code equals, so I will make this, or a that key code equals key code that left shift. Should it work now? Please work for me. Ha! It works. Okay. Now you see. So it's little bit of coding, but anyway. Else if I will probably cat this here. Now, after all of that, I can assign anything I want. So we've reached the end of this video. This video had lots of cuts. I'm sorry for them, but something's really happening here in my home, so I need to talk to some people and stuff like that. I had a really busy day, but I'm glad I've recorded this. As I promised, I'm uploading the whole project. You will find the links in the descriptions. And I hope you learn something about data persistence and about how much important are generic types and how cool are they. If you have any questions, and you might have, because this part was complicated really, go ahead and ask. If you think I've covered something not really as deep as I should, also you go ahead and ask, or I will probably record another tutorial covering generic coding. And that's all for today. What would be our next topic, our next big topic that we will be exploring from other parts of the tutorial? To be honest, I don't know yet. I would like to go through an inventory series, but I do not really want to do what everyone is doing. So for that, I need some inspiration. I will go play some RPG games, and I will go back with the series when I get some ideas. Thanks for now. As I said, if you have any questions, go ahead and ask. And have a good day. Till next time. Bye.